What is up, guys? This is TCG Sam here, and today I'm excited to bring to you guys my updated Invoked Shaddoll deck profile for the March 2021 ban list. Before we begin, I just want to ask you guys to please remember, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this, and it really helps the channel out. But without any further ado, let's just hop straight into it. So, of course, Invoked Shadolls, we're playing triple aleister, the Invoker. If you haven't seen my video already, or I guess if it hasn't come out already, stay tuned for a video where I discuss what the best normal summon for Shaddolls is, in my opinion. But in this build, triple aleister, obviously, because we're playing the Invoked build, double Hedgehog and double Aerial. I think Hedgehog's still pretty decent at 2. You can definitely cut it down to 1 in this build, but I do like to maximize out all my fusion spells in more ways than just playing triple of each. So I feel like the extra Shaddoll name is pretty good. Double Aerial is still really good, especially in this deck where you can banish cards from your graveyard with your own invocation to set it up for future Aerials. But of course, Aerial is just a really good disruption against some of the top meta decks right now. And then 1 Dragon, 1 Beast. I think these are just really good utility one-ofs. And then triple Skomata. Pretty standard, and then triple Wendy. Like I said, in this build, you can probably minimize the Shaddoll count a little bit, but I do like a little bit of a higher Shaddoll count because even when you have access to an extra 2 fusion spells and invocation, so that's kind of important. So you want to play enough Shaddolls to be able to always fuse. And I decided to play triple Ogre this format. I feel like Ogre is really good in this deck specifically because it's the light, it gets its effect when it's brought off a cross sheep, but not only that, it's also really good against Dragon Link in my opinion, and even against decks that isn't great against, it's at least a 1-for-1 trade at worst. And of course, like I said, it's a light monster. Triple Gamma Driver, this is really important for protecting cards like your Magical Meltdown from Droll and stuff, from protecting your Shaddoll fusions from resolving. Gamma, of course, is just a really good hand trap anyways, so I definitely think it's a really good staple card that you should play. That's it for the monsters. For the spells, triple Magical Meltdown. Obviously, this is really extra utility in this deck because it protects your fusion spells from resolving, which of course is really important, and of course gets you more consistency with your aleister. So triple Meltdown's good. I play double Invocation. I still think double's decent. I really don't want to play just one because I feel like even drawing it alone is not terrible because you can fuse away your shells in your hand. Obviously, it's not great, but at the very worst, it becomes like a polymerization that you can use from your hand. So yeah, for that reason, I think 2 is decent. And then triple Shaddoll Fusion, triple L Shaddoll Fusion. Even though we have access to Invocation, I still feel like you need 3 and 3 of each. These are just way too important not to play because they're just so good. And this is also the reason why I play a little bit of a higher Shaddoll count as opposed to cutting it for cards like hand traps and stuff. I just feel like resolving the fusions is just really powerful. Triple Super Poly, I still like this in an Invoked build because now you're still able to fuse your aleister and one of your opponent's monsters. So now you can go normal aleister, effect, search, and then Super Poly away one of your opponent's monsters with the corresponding attribute, and you still have a invocation to banish the aleister and whatever other monster you use for something else. So I still think Super Polymerization is really nice. And of course, in a format where I feel like Dragoon's going to be really popular, you want to be playing Super Poly. You also may have noticed I'm not playing Dragoon. I really don't think it's necessary in this deck because most of the time you're just going to be normal summoning aleister, which means Dragoon is pretty much most of the time going to be like a turn 2 play, which I don't think it's worth playing. 1 Terraforming, 1 Foolish Burial, these are staple one-ups that are really good. And then for the trap cards, I only play 2 of the Shaddoll traps. I feel like this is all you need because the Invoked engine gives you a really good recursive grind game, but it also gives you a lot of power to be able to push through some big boards and just actually go for the kill on your opponent. So I feel like the trap, you definitely don't need like actual trap cards. And I just feel like these 2 trap cards give you enough grind game regardless against the control decks, because your deck should just be able to beat them anyways, like because the engine of your deck I feel like is better. And you can just side in, stop back row hate and whatever if you really need to. But I specifically built this deck to beat like combo decks right now. For the extra deck, space is really tight because you're playing the Invoked cards, but we're still playing triple Construct. This shows how important this card is because it tutors anything in your deck. You can see we're playing all light hand traps for the reason that we want to be making Construct a lot. So yeah, pretty standard to play triple Construct. And then we're playing double Winda. Double winda is really good because you definitely want at least 2 because it's really good against Dragon Links and other combo decks right now. And just getting the second one would make it very difficult for them to deal with. So I think 2 is really good. It's also good in this deck because you can protect it with cards like Aleister. Since space is really tight, I only play 1 copy of Apollo. I think 1 copy of Apollo is fine, honestly, in this build, because once you make it, and you get its effect, you gotta search either Rest Shaddoll Incarnation or Shaddoll Fusion to go for game. Shaddoll Fusion, usually you're doing that when you're trying to go for game. Rest Shaddoll Incarnation when you want to keep looping this back and forth. So that's 1 is pretty much all you need, I feel like. 1 Starving Man and Fusion Dragon, this is important because Dragoon is in the format. People are going to be putting up Anaconda Dragoon a lot. It's also very good against Dragon Link and their final board of Boarload Savage Dragon or Unchained Abomination. This is really good against it. So I feel like Starving Venom is pretty needed. Although you guys can probably cut it if you really want, because with a card like Super Poly, if you draw Aleister or if you draw any Shaddoll monster, it still works to get rid of the Dragoon on your opponent's side of the board. So it's really up to you. I do like this. I cut some of the utility links just for this card. For the Invoke cards, 1 mechaba, this is pretty obvious. For your Omni Negate, 1 Caliga, I really like this because not only are all the Shaddolls dark, but it also acts as a Floodgate type monster that you can protect with Aleister. It's really good against like a lot of combo decks right now because once they activate 1 monster effects, a lot of the combo decks need that single monster effect to start climbing into their bigger monsters. And if they're not able to do that, then they're not able to keep climbing into bigger monsters to beat over your Caliga. And the fact that it limits 1 attack per battle phase could also be important. It forces your opponent to kind of deal with it right away. But not only that, it's level 4, and so you can bring it back with a card like Cross Sheep, which is just super important. Next up, 1 copy of Algoides. This is also really good for outing Dragoon because it becomes really big once you summon it. You special summon it, pop a monster, banish a fusion, becomes really big, you can swing over Dragoon. So that's one of your other outs Dragoon in your extra deck that I really like. But not only that, it kind of acts as disruption on your opponent's turn. So, okay, I should start from the beginning. It gets value when it's special summoned because you pop a monster. And then as long as it sits on the board, every time your opponent special summons a monster, you just get rid of it. So that's just really, really powerful. Of course, with your extra deck being pretty much mostly fusions, you're pretty much always going to have fusions in your graveyard. And once you out your opponent's Dragoon, you can use that as a material for your Algoides as well with Invocation. And then finally, I chose to play Invoked Raijin. And this is going to seem a little weird, but there's a couple reasons why I think this is necessary. Invoked Raijin is really good because it allows you to use your Shaddoll Wendy with a card like Aleister to put up an interruption and start your Shaddoll plays by setting like a card like Hedgehog or something, or Shaddoll Beast with your Wendy. So for that, I feel like it's really important. But not only that, its wind typing is important against the Bird Up deck, where they put up the Samorg link and then summon the Wind Barrier statue. It gives you an out to that in your Invoked Raijin. So I feel like that's really important. You can also Super Poly away your opponent's Samorg, sorry, your opponent's barrier statue with Aleister. So I feel like Invoked Raijin is really good. It's also just a really good disruption. Book of Moon against a deck like Zodiac should probably just end their turn on most of the time. So these are the 4 invoked monsters I play. I feel like this is more than enough. If you're summoning Aleister 4 times and still not winning, that game has probably got to be the grindiest game ever. That's all I gotta say. For the links, 1 copy of Gravity Controller. This is really good for your Shaddoll fusions. 1 copy of Artemis. We're not playing Secure Gardena into Almirage into Secure Gardena. I feel like Artemis is just good enough to act as the light link one that you just link Aleister into. I feel like you don't need Almirage, and that's also why we're not playing Purgatrio, because we have no fire access in this deck. But that's totally fine. I feel like Artemis definitely works. It saves 1 extra deck space, which is super huge. Cross Sheep obviously is a fusion deck. And surprisingly for the last slot, I actually don't play an extra like Link 3 like Unicorn or Link 4 like Access Code. I feel like Verte Anaconda is just still super, super important because it allows you to, it just gives you more fusion outlets, and it threatens your opponent a lot. Your opponent's forced to act on this if they have a card like Torrential Tribute or Dogmatika Punishment or whatever, because they're, as long as the threat of Dragoon is lingering over them, they're going to be forced to deal with this card, which is just at times could help you out. But not only that, it also acts as a really good fusion outlet, so I feel like it's pretty important. Like I said, you could probably cut the Starving Venom if you guys don't like it. You can play maybe the Aleister Link too. You can play Access Gotaka or Unicorn. I just feel like those are pretty good substitutes. But I feel like Anaconda is kind of necessary, but ultimately it's up to you. I just feel like the 3 core links you absolutely must have right these 3. But yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck profile. If you did, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. And yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.